Well, good afternoon, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. It's the 27th of February, 2022. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. A lot of folks, new folks out there on our YouTube channel, so I thought I'd say, why do you say the real Captain Kirk? Because I was back in the day. Blessed to have worked with this pretty famous general, General Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf. Again, forever changed how we think here. Pretty much dumping physics and meteorology. If you're going to do year-ahead weather and year-ahead sales forecasting, you better have a different methodology than traditional physics and meteorology. So we use trillions and trillions and trillions of statistics and climate cycles to predict not only the weather and sales for some of these Fortune 500 companies in retail, supply, and financial services. We'll start here today with a recap of February since it's pretty much in the history book. One more day here. Here in the U.S., we were about 3.5 degrees warmer than last year on the national scale, 17th coldest in 37 years, so just a hair below average, but nothing like the polar vortex scenario we had last year. Precip about 8% drier than last year, least in 5 years, 18th driest in 37 years, below average. Snowfall also 33% less than a year ago. Still 16th most in 37 years, but that was just, again, a hair below average. Maps inset left are trends versus last year for the U.S. Other cold spot was China. They were pretty cold, but the rest of the world kind of on the warmest scale, for sure up there in, across Russia and the European areas. Looking at last week's summary now, this big map is trends versus last year, year over year, how our customers would look at it. Here in the U.S., it was pretty stormy, cold, wet, and stormy for sure. 6.8 degrees colder than last year, coldest in 3 years, 10th coldest in 37 years, below average temperatures, 69% wetter, wettest in 4, 17th wettest in 37, so above average on that rainfall front. Haven't said that very frequently. 182% more snow than last year also, most in 11 years, 6th most in 37 years, so above average there. So again, kind of a cold, stormy week. Pretty much we were the up there in maybe Greenland and Europe, China, but again, rest of the world, you can see the trends versus last year. Precip maps and temperature maps versus average are inset left again. So you see all that cold was really bottled up in North America and China. Looking at this week here, again, hard to believe we're getting into that meteorological spring starts 1 March. So again, only a couple more days of meteorological winter, and then it's officially spring, according to weather folks. We still have a few more weeks, according to the sun. But again, for this week, we're looking at 0.3 degrees warmer than last year, 8th warmest in 37 years, so a little above average. Precip, again, back to our dry trends here, 45% drier than last year, least in 12, 5th driest in 37 years, so much below average national precip. Snowfall may be up. Again, it's going to be limited to the northern tier, but 60% snowier than last year, still 4th least in 37 years, so much below average precip. Trend charts are the U.S. trends for precip and temperatures over the last 37 years. Looking at snowfall, again, this is a 6-day total here, but not much. Again, across the northern tier of the country, 31% less snow than last year, 82% below average, least in 22 years, second least in 37 years for this 6-day period here. So a little bit of a clipper system going through the upper plains, Great Lakes, interior northeast, but not much here on the snowfall front. Again, this graphical depiction just puts that into perspective, least in 22 years. So kind of a downward trend here for snow. Next week, back to reality here. We got a potential major glancing shot of the polar vortex here. So don't get too used to this milder weather this week, because next week the bottom looks to fall out west to east. It'll start in the west, then move into central plains, and eventually sweep off the east coast as we get toward this March 12th weekend. Temperatures versus 6.9 degrees colder than last year, coldest in 23 years. So again, warm along the east coast, but frigid temperatures expanding across the country here. 9th coldest in 37 years, so below average. 330% wetter than last year, most in 11 years, 5th wettest in 37 years, so much above average on the precip front. 187% snowier than last year, most in 4 years, 10th most in 37 years, so above average there as well. So only one way to describe this is a cold, stormy week. We'll have to watch for severe weather in the southeast region. Again, anytime you bring this kind of cold air this time of year, you can get a lot of severe thunderstorms and tornadic type activity. So the southeast would be the spot for that here next week. And if we just aggregate these trends over the world outlook here again for a 2-week period from 27 Feb through 12 March, again, generally a cool trend across Canada and the western central U.S. That'll again be expanding east as we go through late in the period next week. Much of the rest of the world looking on the warm side here. Precip map inset left, trends versus average. So with that, folks, have a great week. We will be back here again this time next week.